They stripped him of everything: his coat, his dreams, his future. But they couldn't strip him of God's plan. This is the story of Joseph, sold for 20 pieces of silver, yet destined to save nations. From the pit to the palace. Welcome to the greatest comeback in history. In the sun-drenched hills of Canaan, a young man named Joseph, only 17 years old, walked in the unmistakable favor of his father Jacob. Born in Jacob's old age to his beloved wife Rachel, Joseph held a special place in his father's heart among the 12 sons. To express this profound affection, Jacob commissioned a magnificent long-sleeved coat of many colors, a garment woven with vibrant hues that shimmered like a rainbow under the Canaanite sun. This was no simple tunic. It was a symbol of status, a mark of heirship and divine selection. As Jacob tenderly placed the ornate robe on Joseph's shoulders, the fabric seemed to glow with promise. Yet in the shadows, his brothers watched with growing resentment. They saw the favoritism clearly, felt the sting of being overlooked, and could not speak a kind word to him. What began as quiet family tension planted seeds of bitterness that would soon erupt into betrayal. Even in this early moment of favor, God was already weaving a greater purpose, teaching Joseph that true elevation often comes through unexpected valleys, a lesson that would echo through centuries for anyone who has ever felt unfairly singled out or envied. Joseph began to experience vivid, prophetic dreams, divine whispers he could not contain. In the first, he and his brothers were binding sheaves in the field when suddenly his sheaf rose upright, while their sheaves gathered around and bowed low before it. Eagerly he shared the vision. "Listen to this dream I had." His brothers' faces twisted with fury. "Are you indeed to reign over us?" they mocked. Then came an even bolder dream. The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowing down to him. Even Jacob rebuked him gently. "Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you?" Yet these were not mere youthful fantasies or arrogant delusions. They were heavenly revelations of a destiny far beyond their understanding. The hatred deepened, roots twisting underground like a gathering storm. In God's hidden providence, these very dreams that provoked betrayal were the same ones that would one day be fulfilled in ways no one could imagine. Joseph was learning that God's calling often invites opposition before it brings elevation. Jacob sent Joseph from the valley of Hebron to check on his brothers tending flocks near Dothan. As the young man approached in his colourful coat, innocent and unsuspecting, the brothers spotted him from afar. "Here comes that dreamer," they sneered with contempt. "Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of these pits. We will say a wild beast has devoured him, and we shall see what becomes of his dreams." Reuben, the eldest, intervened to spare his life, suggesting they throw him alive into the empty cistern instead. They seized Joseph violently, stripped him of his precious coat, the symbol of everything they resented, and cast him into the dark, dry pit. There, in the suffocating silence and shadows, Joseph looked up at the small circle of sky above. His brothers' angry faces vanished. Alone, betrayed by his own flesh and blood, the favored son now lay in the pit of despair, stripped of dignity, future, and family. Yet even here, in what seemed like total abandonment, God's unseen hand was at work, positioning Joseph for a journey he could never have planned himself. As Joseph cried out from the depths of the cistern, a caravan of Ishmaelite traders appeared on the horizon, their camels laden with spices heading toward Egypt. Judah saw cold opportunity. "What profit is it if we kill our brother? Let us sell him instead." For 20 pieces of silver, the going price of a common slave, Joseph was lifted out and handed over like merchandise. The caravan carried him away toward Egypt, the land of pyramids, power, and pagan gods, while he looked back one last time at the distant Canaan hills. Meanwhile, the brothers dipped the bloodied coat in goat's blood and brought it to Jacob. "We have found this," they lied. Jacob tore his garments, wept bitterly and refused all comfort. "I shall go down to Sheol to my son, mourning." In this heartbreaking transaction, God's providence moved silently. The very betrayal meant to end Joseph's dreams was the first step in a divine rescue mission that would ultimately save nations, including the family that sold him. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, captain of Pharaoh's elite guard. But Scripture repeatedly declares, "The Lord was with Joseph." And because of that divine presence, he prospered in everything he did. Potiphar recognized this unusual favor and placed the young Hebrew slave in charge of his entire household. Under Joseph's wise and honest management, the estate flourished with blessing. Then temptation struck like a storm. Potiphar's wife, captivated by Joseph's handsomeness and integrity, repeatedly demanded, "Lie with me." Day after day she pressured him, but Joseph stood firm. "How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" When she finally seized his garment as he fled, she accused him falsely of assault. In rage, Potiphar cast Joseph into the king's prison. Once again the pit claimed him. Yet even in this sudden fall from privilege, "The Lord was with Joseph" remained the unbreakable motif. Every loss was secretly preparing him for greater responsibility. In the grim Egyptian dungeon, the Lord once more showed Joseph steadfast love and granted him favor with the prison keeper. Soon, Joseph was placed in charge of all the prisoners. Among them were two of Pharaoh's high officials, the chief cupbearer and chief baker, each troubled by vivid dreams. With quiet dignity and humility, Joseph interpreted them accurately by God's wisdom. The cupbearer would be restored to his position in 3 days, while the baker would face execution. "Only remember me," Joseph pleaded with the cupbearer, "when it is well with you, and show kindness." 3 days later, everything happened exactly as Joseph foretold. But the cupbearer forgot him. 2 full years dragged by in the shadows of prison. Joseph's body was confined, yet his spirit remained unbroken, his trust in God unwavering. In the darkness of forgottenness, God was refining his character for a destiny that would shake empires. Two years later, Pharaoh himself was tormented by haunting dreams. 7 sleek, fat cows devoured by 7 gaunt, ugly ones. 7 plump heads of grain swallowed by 7 thin, scorched ones. Egypt's magicians and wise men stood silent. Then the cupbearer finally remembered Joseph. Joseph was quickly shaved, dressed in fresh garments, and brought before the most powerful ruler on earth. Standing humbly before Pharaoh, he declared, "It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer." With divine insight, he explained 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of devastating famine. He urged decisive action. Appoint a wise overseer to store grain during the plenty. Pharaoh and his court marveled at the wisdom and spirit of God resting on this Hebrew slave. The stage was set. Joseph's years of hidden preparation were about to bear fruit. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "You shall be over my house. Only as regards the throne will I be greater than you." In a coronation-like moment, he gave Joseph his signet ring, fine linen robes, a gold chain, and the Egyptian name Zaphenath-Paneah. At just 30 years old, the former prisoner rode in the second chariot as the people cried, "Bow the knee." Joseph married Asenath, daughter of the priest of On, and fathered 2 sons, Manasseh. God has made me forget all my hardship, and Ephraim, God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. During the 7 years of plenty, Joseph stored vast amounts of grain, preparing Egypt for survival. From the lowest pit to the seat of power, Joseph's rise was breathtaking, yet it was never about personal glory. It was God's hidden providence positioning one man to preserve life for countless others. When severe famine struck Canaan, Jacob sent 10 of his sons to Egypt to buy grain, keeping young Benjamin home. Unaware, the brothers bowed low before the powerful governor, none other than Joseph. He recognized them instantly but concealed his identity, speaking harshly and accusing them of being spies. He imprisoned Simeon as a hostage and demanded they bring Benjamin as proof of honesty. As they left with grain, they discovered their money returned in their sacks, filling them with fear. What is this that God has done to us? On the second journey, with Benjamin now present, Joseph's emotions overflowed privately. He wept at the sight of his full brother. The family that once betrayed him was now unknowingly fulfilling the dreams they had tried to destroy. Joseph orchestrated one final heart-piercing test. He filled their sacks with grain and secretly placed his own silver cup in Benjamin's. As the brothers departed, his steward overtook them, accusing theft. The cup was found with Benjamin. Despair gripped them. In this moment of crisis, Judah stepped forward with raw passion and sacrificial love. "Let me remain here as your servant in place of the boy. How can I return to my father without him? His life is bound up with the boy's." The same brothers who once sold Joseph now offered themselves in his place. True transformation had begun, the very character God had been forging in all of them. Unable to contain his emotions any longer, Joseph dismissed all his Egyptian attendants and cried out with tears streaming, "I am Joseph! Is my father still alive?" His brothers were stunned into terrified silence. "Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves," Joseph said with profound gentleness, "because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life." He embraced them, weeping loudly. The years of pain, betrayal, and separation dissolved in waves of forgiveness. Joseph sent wagons and provisions to bring Jacob and the entire family to Egypt, promising them the best of the land in Goshen. "You shall be near me, you and your children and your children's children." What man had meant for evil, God had orchestrated for the salvation of many. Jacob journeyed to Egypt with his entire household, 70 souls. At the border, God reassured him in a vision not to fear. Joseph met his father in Goshen, fell on his neck, and wept for a long time. He presented his family to Pharaoh, who granted them the finest land. As Jacob's life drew to a close, Joseph brought his sons Manasseh and Ephraim for blessing. Jacob crossed his hands, blessing the younger Ephraim above the elder, a final picture of God's upside-down kingdom. Joseph had risen from the pit to the palace, not for personal glory, but to preserve life and fulfill God's covenant. His story reaches across time with its triumphant declaration, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive." Betrayed, forgotten, sitting in your own pit right now? Your story isn't over. God still writes the most powerful plot twists. The same providence that took Joseph from prison to palace is at work in your life today. If this story speaks to you, share it. Someone in your life is sitting at the bottom of a pit right now. They need to know it's not the end. Like, subscribe, and let's continue. This is Joseph, and his story is far from over.